71% of the Earth's surface is covered by marine waters. Of this vast area, it is estimated that 80% is not only completely unexplored but also currently lacks detailed maps. We can confidently say that we know more details about the lunar surface than about the Earth's ocean depths. This makes the deep sea one of the last unexplored frontiers of our planet, rich with potential scientific discoveries and mysteries to solve. And there are indeed many mysteries in the marine depths, places that, if explored systematically, could rewrite much of our history. If this statement might seem bold to some, we are sure that after watching the video, you will change your mind, as we will detail an incredible discovery made in the tranquil waters of the Mediterranean, which gives a clear idea of how much we still don't know about our past and how the history we know could be rewritten in the coming years. Before embarking on this fascinating journey into the marine depths, as we always do, we invite you to subscribe to the channel to support our work and not miss upcoming videos. The absolute strangeness of this regular wall slightly amazed me. I immediately realized that this formation, so regularly arranged, could not be of the same volcanic nature as the rest of the seabed in the area. These extraordinary words come from Captain Raimondo Bucher. For those who do not know him, it is necessary to briefly explain who he is so that everyone can appreciate the authority of his testimony. Raimondo Bucher was born on January 25, 1912, in Fiume. At the time, the town was still part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, but in 1924 it was annexed to the Kingdom of Italy and remained so until World War II, when it was renamed Rijeka and permanently annexed by the former Yugoslavia. After the fall of Yugoslavia in the 1990s, it became a town in Croatia. The troubled history of the city of Fiume is emblematic of how human events in just a few years have marked this territory, and if all these upheavals occurred in a few decades, imagine the changes that can happen in a territory over millennia of history. Today we will talk about a millennia-old story, lost in the mists of time and seemingly leaving no trace. But let's close this parenthesis and return to our story. As mentioned, Bucher was born in 1912 in Fiume and, from a young age, was set on a military career that saw him serve as a pilot in the Regia Aeronautica, the Air Force of the Kingdom of Italy. This was until World War II, when Bucher discovered his passion for the sea and, in particular, for diving. This passion quickly led him to become one of the pioneers of underwater diving, and his feats and depth records became known worldwide, captivating an entire generation. But Bucher was also an exceptional underwater explorer. In 1956, during a reconnaissance flight over the Gulf of Naples, he noticed mysterious structures beneath the waters of the Gulf. This led him to dive and discover the ancient city of Baiae, a thriving town dating back to Roman times that, due to bradysism, a volcanic phenomenon causing the uplifting and sinking of the ground, was submerged by water and forgotten. While this discovery gained significant attention and was well received by the official science, a few years later, in 1957, what Commander Bucher discovered did not have the same fortune. In the summer of 1957, Bucher, along with his brother, dived into the waters adjacent to the island of Linosa. Linosa is a small island in the Mediterranean located between Italy and the African continent. According to the captain's testimony, the two men encountered an actual submerged wall, about 100 meters long, consisting of regularly squared stones that dropped to a depth of 60 meters. But the captain's discovery didn't end there. On the last day of diving, the two men came across something even more curious. A grossly human-shaped figure emerged before them. Upon closer inspection, it turned out to be a sort of pharaonic idol, very roughly shaped. All these observations, apart from the presence of a large number of amphorae, which might be, and probably are, the remains of some shipwreck, convinced me that I was facing the remnants of an ancient civilization. Just as Bucher's observations and descriptions led to an excavation campaign that uncovered the ancient city of Baiae, this time the captain's account was not believed, or rather, it was thought to be a mistake. The waters adjacent to Linosa have been navigated over the years by all the civilizations that flourished in the Mediterranean. The presence of amphorae, wrecks, and other artifacts is not unusual, but Bucher's description goes beyond these classic finds. It describes the presence of an artificial structure that would sink into the marine depths and, given its construction, seems to be the work of an extremely ancient civilization. As mentioned, this discovery was not successful and was soon forgotten. But as we will see in the video, something very mysterious seems to be hidden in the Mediterranean waters. Before we dive into this, we need to take a step back. According to recent studies, 8,000 years ago, the level of the Mediterranean Sea was very different from today. About 11,000 years ago, the last ice age ended. This resulted in the melting of a massive amount of ice that poured into the seas, causing ocean levels to rise by about 100 meters. During the glacial period, it is therefore very likely that the shores that now form the Strait of Sicily were much narrower. It is thought that they were no more than 50 or 100 meters apart and that what we now recognize as islands were merely the highest peaks of the emerged lands. These places were likely inhabited also due to a favorable climate that extended to what is now the North African desert, which at the time was rich in vegetation. But it is clear we are talking about a very remote era. According to reconstructions, humans lived in small tribes that survived by hunting in inhabited caves. This period includes examples of rock art found in the Lascaux caves in France or Altamira in Spain. We are thus talking about very primitive civilizations that, only millennia later, would discover agriculture and create the first settlements. For this reason, Bucher's discovery went unnoticed because finding artificial structures in the depths of the Mediterranean seemed impossible to the scientific world and thus simply a mistake. But now let's move to more recent times, specifically to 2010, when Libyan news agencies reported an extraordinary finding. The Libyan Navy had indeed located in the Mediterranean seabed, at a depth of about 400 meters, the remains of several buildings that seemed to make up an ancient urban network. The exact location was not revealed, but it was leaked that some artifacts had been brought to shore for study. Unfortunately, however, since 2010, we have had no further news about this extraordinary discovery due to the dramatic political and military situation in the country after the fall of Muammar Gaddafi's regime, which plunged the country into years of violence and political and social instability. So, while only a few news agency reports remain about this discovery, a much more interesting and documented finding occurred in 2015 off the coast of Pantelleria Island, which lies at the center of the Strait of Sicily and connects Europe to Africa. In August 2015, a team of geologists from the Italian National Institute of Oceanography and Applied Geophysics discovered a large stone monolith lying horizontally on the seabed at a depth of about 40 meters off the coast of Pantelleria. The monolith was dated to around 7500 BC, and there is no doubt that it is a man-made artifact. The monolith indeed features some holes on its sides and a large hole that passes through it from end to end. According to researchers, this monolith might have had an astronomical function, possibly to mark the arrival of solstices or equinoxes. Clearly, this is a very important discovery, firstly because the discovered monolith required cutting, extraction, transportation, and installation, revealing significant technical and engineering skills of ancient peoples to whom such abilities were not previously attributed. Furthermore, this discovery provides concrete evidence of ancient civilizations that were much more advanced than previously imagined. Moreover, this discovery aligns with the revolutionary finding of Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, officially dated to 9600 BC, which has rewritten the history of our origins. Is it therefore possible that Commander Raimondo Bucher in 1957 actually observed megalithic walls sinking into the marine depths and that this was not a mere mistake? Considering the captain's curriculum and reliability, along with the discovery of the megalith by the Oceanography Institute and the Libyan Navy's announcement regarding the discovery of important buildings in the Mediterranean depths, it is very likely that in the waters separating Europe from Africa there could be the remains of an unknown civilization, and at the very least, this warrants careful investigation. But the clues of this civilization certainly do not stop here, as we mentioned at the beginning of the video. The melting of the last glaciation led to a global rise in ocean waters, and traces of civilizations buried under the marine abyss are not limited to those found in the Strait of Sicily. For example, in the Mediterranean, off the coast of Israel, Archaeologists have been studying since the 1980s the submerged ruins of Atlit Yam, Yam, and Megajim, towns dating back about 8,000 years. Similar situations are found in various places on the planet, such as in Japan, where the underwater site of Yonaguni features monolithic structures believed to be the remains of an ancient submerged city dating back over 10,000 years. Or the submerged city of Dwarka in India, mentioned in ancient texts as the city of the god Krishna and, according to many researchers, dating back at least to 9000 BC. But it is not even necessary to go that far. Just a few kilometers from the site of the megalith discovery by the Oceanography Institute and near the site of Bucher's testimony, we find the island of Malta, where its wonderful megalithic temples spark debate among researchers about their actual age and origin. Or the carriage tracks, mysterious parallel grooves carved into limestone rock, which seem to have been made by unknown heavy vehicles dating back thousands of years. Moreover, what about the finding at Malta during the excavation of the Hal Saflieni Hypogeum, an underground complex dating back about 4,000 years, where among numerous human remains, some dolichocephalic skulls, i.e., with the classic elongated head shape, were found, connecting to many other sites around the planet. In short, the examples we have quickly mentioned are just a few, but many more could be cited from different places and regions where there are clues that cannot be ignored and seem to all point to the same ancient story. Clearly, we will dedicate more in-depth videos to these places in the future, but for now, it should be quite clear how analyzing just a tiny area of the Mediterranean has revealed a series of incredible findings that cannot but demonstrate how much of our past remains completely obscure to our understanding. There are surely many doubts and questions, but one certainty we have. Much of our history lies on the seabed, places still unexplored that are just waiting to be discovered. Let us know in the comments what you think, and if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to support our work and not miss the upcoming videos.